Incredible moment revealed. Tired arms lead Millionaire to make touching life-changing decision. Jake Thompson plopped onto his old, worn-out couch, the fabric frayed from countless family movie nights and endless laughs. The clock ticked loudly, reminding him of the time lost. Today he had worked 2 shifts, toting bags of groceries home on tired arms, a weight not just of the bags but of his worries. As he set the groceries on the table, the front door creaked open, and his 3 kids burst in, their laughter filling the air like the smell of freshly baked cookies. For a moment, he forgot about the eviction notice hidden in his bag, thinking only of their smiles. But behind that joy lay the truth. Eviction loomed like storm clouds, dark and heavy. All he wanted was to keep his family together around the dinner table. He wanted to shield them from the flickering shadows of financial despair. Every night, Jake returned home with a heart full of hope, reminding his kids about resilience, family, and love, no matter how dire the situation felt. Across town, Tony Reynolds lived in a mansion that felt more like a fortress. He had built his empire, finding riches in the solitude of indifference. Growing up with Jake, Tony had forgotten the laughter that connected them and the community that once thrived. Riches had wrapped him in a cloak of isolation, dulled his spirit amidst opulence. As he sipped his expensive whiskey, news of Jake's eviction notice struck Tony like a splash of cold water. That name sparked memories. Laughter, friendship, warmth. The pull to help was strong, but so was the fear of crossing boundaries he'd created. The gym buzzed with energy, filled with familiar faces coming together for Jake, a genuine outpouring of love. Community members set up tables piled high with treats. The sound of delighted chatter and the clinking of plates melted into a symphony of support. Jake stood amid the crowd, choking back tears as he felt a wave of gratitude wash over him, like a warm hug on a cold night. The support transformed the space, lighting up even the darkest corners of his struggles. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tony, standing on the outskirts, watched the love and laughter radiating from the crowd. Each face, weathered yet hopeful, struck him hard. He felt the weight of his choices, the emptiness that had crept into his lavish life. Something stirred in him, a spark of understanding. The need to help Jake tugged at his heart. But how? Anonymity seemed best. He wanted to fix things without disrupting Jake's pride. But then came the moment that changed everything. As Tony stepped forward, he felt his resolve faltering. Could he accept help from someone so distant? The tension thickened as Tony's heart raced. Would he take this leap, risk everything, just to reach out across that chasm of wealth and pride? Jake saw that familiar face emerge from the crowd, and his breath caught in his throat. Would they come together, or would this moment fracture them both? Tensions rose, and the air buzzed with anticipation, leaving the audience on the edge, waiting to see what would unfold next. Jake squinted through the crowd, his eyes locking onto Tony. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to pause, the laughter fading into a whisper as everything else blurred out of focus. Memories flooded back. They were kids again, running through summer streets, sharing ice cream cones without a care in the world. Yet now there was a chasm between them, one filled with years of choices and stoic independence. Jake's heart raced. He wanted to bridge that gap, but pride held him back. He didn't want Tony's pity, nor did he want to display his vulnerabilities. Tony stepped closer, every inch filled with uncertainty. Voices from the crowd rose around him, a mixture of jubilations and stories of adventures shared. But he felt the weight of judgment, of choice pressing down on him. Would he really dare to reach out, to step into Jake's world of struggle and pain? Jake, Tony finally called out, his voice barely breaking through the noise. Silence followed, as all heads turned to see what would happen next. The air thickened, the weight of anticipation palpable. Jake felt every gaze, each one filled with a mix of curiosity and judgment. When their eyes met, a flicker of understanding ignited. All those years of unspoken resentment and separation vanished in that moment. A small, tentative smile crossed Jake's lips. "Tony," he replied, hesitating for just a moment. "What are you doing here?" Tony swallowed hard. I want to help." Jake's stomach twisted at the word. Help? Did that mean money? A handout? He did not want charity. Yet the need for anything to lift them out of this black hole pressed heavily on his heart. At that moment, the world felt impossibly still. Then a child's laughter broke the silence. One of Jake's kids squeezed through the crowd, running to him with sticky hands and a wide grin. "Daddy! Look! I got candy!" The joyous sound pulled Jake back to reality. His heart melted as he knelt to embrace his little one. But Tony was still there, watching. In that instant, Jake felt a tug between gratitude and resentment. How could he accept help when he had always prided himself on doing things his way? "Just give me some time," Jake finally said, standing back, relieved yet disappointed. His voice was steady, but deep inside, turmoil raged. Tony nodded, those blue eyes glistening with unshed feelings. "I'll be here, whenever you're ready." As he stepped back, the energy of the gym shifted. Murmurs filled the air, the crowd buzzing with theories and emotions. The tension dissipated, but for Jake and Tony, the moment felt monumental. Could they truly meet halfway? Could they strip away the years of misunderstanding? Jake's heart raced as he watched Tony melt back into the crowd. Each second stretched, heavy with unspoken promises and lingering doubts. As Jake returned to his kids, he couldn't shake the feeling of being at a crossroads. Everything he had worked for, every emotion he had bottled up, and the love surrounding him hung in limbo. The next few days could change everything. A decision loomed like a massive wave, ready to crash down. Would he let the tide pull him under, or would he rise above, hand in hand with a once-close friend, now a man cloaked in wealth and shadows? In the depths of his soul, Jake felt something stirring, a hope mixed with fear. And that was the moment when fate placed its finger on the scale of their lives. But what if the very step they needed to take would alter everything they thought they knew? Jake spent the next few days in a whirl of confusion and emotion. He tried to push through the routine of work and family, but everything felt dimmer. Each smile from his kids pulled at his heart, a bittersweet reminder of what he was trying to protect. He wanted to give them everything, to keep them safe from his struggles, but the weight of those burdens was growing unbearable. He found himself staring out the window one afternoon, watching the leaves fall with the first hints of autumn. It reminded him of the childhood he shared with Tony, the endless days filled with laughter, adventures, and dreams that seemed so far away now. He could almost hear Tony's voice, that infectious laughter echoing in his ears. Why had he let so much time pass them by? Later that evening, the kids were tucked into bed, their soft snores filling the silence of the house. Jake sank into the old couch, the fabric worn and familiar. The TV flickered, but his mind was elsewhere. He thought of Tony standing there, the conflicted expression on his face. He remembered the glint of hope in Tony's eyes. What did help mean, really? Felt like a loaded word, one that struck a nerve. Could he dare to accept it? What if it could actually change their lives? The thought triggered a rush of anxiety. Allowing Tony in meant peeling back layers of pride and the countless times he had insisted he was fine on his own. But then he remembered his kids. They didn't deserve to feel the weight of a father's burdens. They deserved joy and stability. A tear slipped down his cheek, a surrender to the vulnerability he had been fighting so hard to shield. He wiped it away quickly, as if the act itself was a betrayal. Days turned into a week, and still, the overwhelming urge to reach out gnawed at him. The very thought of it sent a shot of fear through him. What if he reached out and it fell apart? What if their friendship was just another fleeting memory? Finally, on a particularly tough Thursday, he made his decision. Jake slipped on his jacket, the crisp air hitting his face as he stepped outside. He needed to talk to Tony. Even if it meant admitting his weaknesses, even if it meant facing the ghosts of their past, he would do it for his kids. It was a step into the unknown, but one he felt he had to take for their sake. He found Tony at the cafe in town, where the aroma of coffee mingled with laughter and chatter. The moment Jake pushed through the door, Tony looked up, surprise flickering across his features. There was a moment of uncertainty between them, a tangible energy that made the air thick. "Jake," Tony said, standing up. "I didn't know if you would. Can we talk?" Jake cut in, his voice steady but his heart racing. The seriousness of Jake's tone cut straight through the cafe chatter. It was clear this was not a casual visit. He could see the seriousness settle into Tony's eyes as a mix of hope and something deeper flickered behind them. Of course, Tony replied. They found a table in the back, away from curious glances. As Jake began to speak, every word felt heavy, but the weight lifted just a little each time he said something real. "I'm tired, Tony," he finally admitted, vulnerability slipping through like light breaking into a dark room. "I can't do this alone anymore." Outside, the wind howled like a storm gathering strength. Inside, Jake braced himself for the answer he feared but knew he needed to hear. Would Tony be there to catch him, no matter how far he had fallen? Or was this the moment where they'd finally lose each other for good? The question hung in the air, more pressing than ever. Would this be the turning point they both desperately needed, or the end of an era? Tony leaned forward, his expression tightening. The laughter and chatter of the cafe faded into background noise, and for a moment, it felt like just the two of them remained in a world of their own. Taking a deep breath, he searched Jake's face for any hint of assurance. "Jake," he said, his voice low and steady, "you're not alone. You never have been. I've been trying to reach out to you." Jake felt a wave of emotions crash into him: relief, gratitude, guilt. He couldn't remember the last time someone had offered him a lifeline like that. "I just didn't," he struggled, the words tangled in his throat. "I didn't want to burden you. You have your own life, your own battles." "That's the thing," Tony interrupted gently. "Friendship isn't about not burdening each other. It's about sharing that weight. We've both been through a lot." Jake looked down. He could feel the setup of Tony's words: a firm foundation, a place to build back what had been lost. Memories of their childhood, of late-night talks and crazy dreams rushed back. Could they recapture that spirit? Could they truly rebuild? "I'm scared, man," Jake admitted, voice trembling. "I'm scared of letting you in, of showing you all the pieces of me that are broken." "Let me show you something," Tony said, pulling out his phone. He flipped through images until he stopped at one, a photo of the two of them, taken years ago at a campsite with the sun setting behind them. They stood grinning ear to ear, arms slung around each other's shoulders. "Remember this?" Tony asked, a smile breaking through his serious demeanor. Jake chuckled softly, wiping a stray tear that escaped his defenses. "Yeah, I remember thinking we were invincible." "You still are," Tony reflected, his eyes earnest. "Every scar, every struggle, it's part of who you are. And it doesn't make you lesser. If anything, it makes you stronger." The conversation flowed, with Tony encouraging Jake to share his fears: the economic pressure, the endless hustle to provide, the sinking feeling of failure that loomed over him. With each confession, Jake felt a small piece of the burden lift away. "Just take one step at a time," Tony advised, leaning back, a sense of calm radiating from him. "Let us work through this together." As Jake nodded, a spark of hope ignited inside him, a flicker of possibility. But even as the conversation began to lighten, he felt the weight of reality press down again. "I don't want to hurt the kids. I can't drag them into my mess." "They'll see you as brave," Tony insisted. "They'll learn from you how to face challenges head-on. That's what they deserve." Jake's heart ached at the thought. What if he could show them how to confront fears instead of hiding from them? What if he could teach them resilience? The idea seemed daunting, but it was a glimmer of a new path, a path he suddenly yearned to walk with Tony by his side. Yet, uncertainty still lingered like a shadow. Would this truly lead to healing? Or was it just a temporary reprieve? Could he trust that reaching out would pull them together instead of tearing them apart? "Tony," Jake began, a lump forming in his throat. What if this all falls apart again? Then we build it back up, Tony replied, his voice unwavering. But we do it together. Jake smiled feebly, fighting back tears, knowing he had crossed a threshold. The road ahead felt tattered but possible. As they shared stories and laughter, hope threaded through the remnants of their friendship, mending the bonds slowly yet surely. But beneath it all, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the biggest test of all was yet to come. What would it take for him to truly let go of the fear and embrace the possibility of change? Jake stared out the cafe window, watching the world move in its usual chaotic rhythm. Cars honked, children laughed, and somewhere a dog barked ordinary sounds against the tapestry of his thoughts. He felt a flicker of hope, yes, but there was an undercurrent of doubt tugging at him. "Hey," Tony said, nudging him gently, breaking through his reverie. "Are you with me?" Jake turned back, meeting Tony's steady gaze. "Yeah, I'm just thinking. Good or bad?" "Bit of both," Jake admitted with a bittersweet grin. "I think I'm ready to try. I want the kids to see me as someone who fights back." "Then let us do it," Tony exclaimed, enthusiasm brightening his features. "What's our first step?" That question hung in the air, heavy with potential. Jake had played it safe for so long. Every calculated move was there to shield him from pain, but it had also built walls too thick to climb over. What could he do that was bold? "What if I started by talking to them?" he suggested tentatively. "I mean really talking. Sharing what I'm struggling with exactly. Open up. Let them know it's okay to not have all the answers." Tony's excitement felt infectious, and Jake found himself nodding. "But what if they don't understand? Or worse, what if they do?" "They will understand more than you think," Tony reassured him, leaning closer. "Kids are perceptive. They pick up on everything, and what they see can make them stronger. It's about giving them a chance to learn resilience." Jake clenched his jaw, the weight of his fears shifting into a knot in his stomach. "And if I break them instead? Then you help them pick up the pieces." Tony's voice was firm, yet gentle, like a rope thrown out to a drowning man. "You teach them how to mend what's been broken. Trust me, Jake. This is all part of the journey." The idea started to form in his mind, the contours of it sharper than before. Maybe this was what it all boiled down to, a willingness to be vulnerable, to let his kids see not just their struggling father, but a man who dared to fail and stand back up again. As they talked passionately about possible approaches, the cafe's atmosphere shifted, the world around them becoming a backdrop to their shared determination. Suddenly, Jake felt a buzz of courage stirring within. "What about you?" he said, curiosity taking hold. "You've really been there for me. What's your story?" Tony hesitated, his laughter softening into something more reflective. "Honestly, I played the game, chased success, but it felt hollow sometimes. Relationships matter more than any paycheck." "Is that what you're after then?" Jake asked quietly, feeling the gravity of the moment. Tony met his gaze, vulnerability flashing across his features. "Absolutely. I'm tired of the solo flights. I want real connections." The truth hit Jake hard, a realization washing over him. They were both trying to navigate their own struggles, yet here they were, supporting each other. "Maybe we can make this a team effort together," Jake suggested, determination creeping into his voice. "I'm all in," Tony replied, a grin spreading across his face. "Let us change our lives, starting now." As they solidified their plan, the air felt charged with possibility. Jake found solace in knowing that their roads didn't have to be faced alone. They could navigate the labyrinth of fatherhood, friendship, and healing, side by side. But as he left the cafe later, an uneasy thought lingered in his mind. What would happen when they faced their fears? Was he truly ready to take the plunge, or would the depths swallow him whole? The following morning, Jake stood in front of the bathroom mirror, his reflection staring back with uncertainty. Today was the day. He took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of thoughts swirling in his mind. It felt like there was a battle raging within him on one side, the fear of exposing himself, and on the other, a flicker of hope that maybe this could be the moment that changed everything. As he made his way downstairs, He could hear the soft sounds of laughter echoing from the living room. The kids were already awake, their usual morning energy palpable, igniting a warmth in his chest. This was what he wanted for them, to see their dad as someone not just struggling but fighting. He entered the living room, trying to mask the anxiety churning inside him behind a smile. "Hey team," he called out, hoping to sound more confident than he felt. His two children, Sarah and Milo, looked up from their game, grinning ear to ear. "Dad, come play with us," Milo shouted, his enthusiasm infectious. Jake stepped closer, his pulse quickening. "Sure. But first I was wondering if we could talk for a minute. About something important." The room fell quiet, the sudden shift in his tone catching their attention. He gestured for them to sit down, sinking into the plush couch beside them. He felt their curious gazes on him, and he knew he had to dive in. "I want to share something with you both." He hesitated, words tangled in his throat. The best way he could put it was raw and real. "You know how sometimes things get tough, and it feels like you're carrying too much?" He glanced at their faces, searching for understanding. "What I mean is, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. I'm trying to figure things out, but it's not easy." Sarah's brow furrowed, and she bit her lip. "Is it about work?" Jake nodded slowly, deciding to keep it simple. "Yeah, it's part of it. But honestly, it's also about being your dad and wanting to be the best for you both. I've made mistakes. I don't have all the answers, and I'm learning too." Milo, usually so boisterous, looked thoughtful. "Dad, it's okay if you mess up. We all do sometimes. Remember when I crashed my bike? I just got back up and tried again." Jake's heart swelled. That was exactly what he wanted. To show them resilience, but also to accept vulnerability. "Exactly, I want you both to know it's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel scared or uncertain. What matters is how we handle those moments, and we can handle them together." Silence enveloped them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a safer space, one shared between a father and his children. Sarah reached over and took his hand. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she whispered. "I want to be strong like you." Jake's throat tightened with emotion. These moments were fleeting, but so significant. They weren't just sharing a lesson in strength. They were building trust, a bridge between their hearts. As the conversation unfolded, they talked openly about struggles, school, friends, their dreams. Jake could feel the weight slowly lifting, the bond between them strengthening roots deeper than he'd imagined. After what felt like a transformative afternoon, Jake tucked them into bed, their laughter still ringing in his ears. As he turned off the light, he wondered if he had given them what he hoped. A glimpse of vulnerability intertwined with strength. But a nagging voice persisted in the back of his mind. Would this openness really change things? Would they walk into their own battles feeling stronger? Or would the fear still linger, untouched? He sat for a moment on the edge of the bed, contemplating how one conversation often leads to many. What if this was only the beginning? What if facing their fears together opened doors he hadn't even considered? Tomorrow would be a new day, and with it, new challenges. But for now, Jake let hope wash over him like a warm blanket. Would he be brave enough to explore those unknowns when the sun rose again? The sun broke the horizon, casting a soft glow through the window. Jake woke with a resolve that felt both comforting and daunting. Today was not just another opportunity. It was the next step in a journey he had unknowingly started yesterday. He rolled out of bed, feeling the weight of the world lift a little, as he remembered Milo's words about getting back up. After breakfast, he gathered himself. The kids were buzzing with excitement about their plans for the day, and he felt that familiar warmth swell in his chest again. "All right, team, how about we head out after we clean up?" he suggested, hoping to build on the momentum from the night before. "Can we go to the park?" Sarah chimed in, her eyes bright. "Sounds perfect. It'll be good to get some fresh air," Jake replied, smiling. But the weight of what he wanted to do still lingered in the back of his mind. Once they arrived at the park, the air felt different, alive with laughter and joy. The kids rushed ahead, darting between swings and slides while Jake took a moment to gather his thoughts under the sprawling oak tree. He spread a blanket on the grass, looking out at the children. Milo was laughing, a streak of mud on his cheek, as he toppled over while trying to impress Sarah with a cartwheel. This was life happening genuine, messy, and beautiful. Just then, a familiar face approached. It was Rachel, a neighbor and a longtime friend. "Hey, Jake. It's been a while," she greeted, a warm smile lighting her face. They exchanged pleasantries, and Jake couldn't help but notice the genuine concern in her eyes as she asked about the kids and how he was doing. "Honestly, just taking it one day at a time," he replied, feeling an odd sense of comfort in sharing more than just surface-level details. "I get that," she said gently. "I've been through my own struggles and it's tough. But remember, you don't have to do it alone." Her words struck a chord deep inside him. He wondered how many others felt similarly in their struggles. "You're right," he said slowly. "There are days when I feel completely lost." As they conversed, he began to see that others shared this silent battle. Their lives, rooted in routine, had hidden depths he never noticed before. Sometimes, Rachel continued, it's just about finding that outlet, you know? What makes it all feel a bit more manageable. The idea lingered with him, brewing in the back of his mind. What if he could create something for the community? Something where people could come together, share their stories, and support each other through their struggles. The thought electrified him, pulsing with potential. He found himself imagining a community project or support group, a safe space for people like him to gather, share, and heal. The more he spoke with Rachel, the more real it felt. As the day wore on, Jake felt lighter, buoyed by a newfound resolve. He gathered the kids, their laughter intertwining with a sense of purpose. As they left the park, he whispered to himself, what if I could turn this idea into something real? Their laughter echoed down the path as they walked hand in hand. But then, a pang of uncertainty crept in again. What if he failed? The doubt didn't settle long. He realized he had already taken a crucial step by sharing his feelings with Sarah and Milo, no longer hiding behind a mask. That night, after tucking the kids in, he took out a notebook and wrote down his ideas. Each word felt solid, filled with possibility. He couldn't help but wonder what if this was just the first stage of a much larger transformation. Not just for him, but for his whole family and community. With the pen poised above the page, he reflected deeply. Would he have the courage to see this through? Would he be brave enough to act on the inspiration that had ignited within him? And in that moment of stillness, he realized the next chapter of his life was waiting to be written, urging him to step forward into the unknown. The morning light shone bright, spilling through the kitchen window as Jake pondered the possibilities. He couldn't shake the feeling that something important was about to change. After breakfast, the kids dashed to the living room, their voices bubbling over with anticipation. Jake joined them, his heart racing with the excitement of what lay ahead. Can we build a fort? Milo asked, bouncing on his toes. Great idea, Jake said, channeling that spark of energy. Let us make it big enough to hold our secret meetings. The kids squealed in delight, grabbing cushions and blankets. As they constructed their makeshift fortress, laughter filled the house. In the chaos, however, the thought of a community group lingered just under the surface. It wrapped around his thoughts like vines, refusing to let go. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a place for everyone to gather, to share, to heal? But how would he go about it? Amidst the pillows, Jake suddenly felt a flash of inspiration. Why not organize a neighborhood gathering, a picnic in the park? A chance for everyone to connect, to share their stories, and maybe even discover the healing power of community. All right, team, how about we invite everyone over for a picnic next Saturday? Yay, a picnic! Sarah cheered, her eyes wide with excitement. As they finished the fort, Jake felt his pulse quicken. It was an idea tinged with uncertainty, but also the thrill of possibility. Once everyone had settled in their fort, Jake took a leap and shared his vision, a moving spirit of connection to bring people together. He watched as their faces danced with interest. We can have food, games, and maybe even a story share corner for anyone who wants to talk. Milo's eyes sparkled. Can we tell ghost stories? I think so. Jake laughed, embracing the lightness in the room. As the day continued, the fort transformed into a cozy space filled with laughter, the kids' imaginations sparking bright adventures. But Jake knew that his idea went beyond just a picnic. It was the first thread in weaving a network of support and understanding. Later that afternoon, as sunlight drifted softly across the living room, he took a moment alone, reflecting on his journey. The weight of doubt nudged at him, whispering reminders of fear and potential failure. But Jake was ready to face it, ready to reach out and embrace this leap. He grabbed his notebook, determination driving him. With careful strokes, he began outlining his vision. A name for the group, activities, and ways to invite people. Each word seemed to dance off the page, shining with hope. The phone buzzed, and Rachel's name appeared. "Hey, how's the picnic planning going?" With renewed energy, Jake shared his thoughts. He could hear Rachel smile through the phone. "That sounds incredible, Jake. I can help. Let us spread the word." Feeling buoyed by her support, Jake finished jotting down his ideas and let a smile slip across his face. The darkness outside shifted as dusk approached, and Jake felt a comforting warmth in his chest. The kids were in their fort, busy crafting fantastical tales. He realized then, surrounded by their laughter, that this was just the beginning. What if this picnic did more than connect people? What if it ignited the spirit of community he had been missing? As he closed the notebook, readying for a busy week ahead, a new wave of apprehension rushed through. What if no one came? What if he had misjudged the need? But deep down, he also felt a flutter of excitement. Next Saturday will be a milestone, he whispered to himself. And with that promise loomed another thought, an undeniable truth. He needed to speak from the heart. Little did Jake know, as he prepared for what was to come, that the impact of this small gathering would be far greater than he ever anticipated. As the evening settled in, Jake watched his children, unaware of how the next week would unfold. A journey full of challenges and unexpected transformations awaited him. The question lingered. What hidden truths would emerge as the neighborhood gathered to share their stories? The week flew by, filled with bursts of activity that left Jake feeling exhilarated yet anxious. Each day brought new tasks: flyers to make, games to plan, food to coordinate. He found himself waking early, often with a restless mind, concocting scenarios of what the picnic might become. Thursday afternoon, he absorbed himself in the details, almost losing track of the world around him. The kids were playing outside, their laughter ringing through the air, but all Jake could think about was ensuring the picnic was a success. As he worked, his hands trembled slightly from a mix of excitement and the weight of expectation. "Dad!" Sarah's voice broke through his concentration. "Come outside." Jake pushed aside his notebook, joining his children in the backyard. They were both sprawled on the grass next to their wooden swing set, creating wild stories about superheroes battling fearsome monsters. Suddenly, a whirlwind of vivid imagination filled the air, and Jake couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth wash over him. "All right, let me hear your story," he said, settling down beside them. "Okay, this superhero has the power to gather all the friends in the world," Milo exclaimed, gesturing with wild hand movements. "And they all help one another." Jake's heart swelled. "What a great power. Do they solve problems together?" "Yes. And they even make a huge picnic," Sarah added, her eyes sparkling. That simple revelation lit a fire in Jake. They grasped exactly what he wanted: to create a space where help and friendship thrived. The realization settled like a gentle weight, uplifting. Later that night, as he tucked them into bed, he felt a lull of contentment. But as the quiet of the house surrounded him, doubt brewed once again. Would anyone connect with that vision? Would this place of gathering truly help? The next day would come quickly, and he'd have to face his fears head-on. As he lay in bed, a familiar unease curled tightly in his stomach. Just as he appointed himself the leader of the picnic, he also felt the burden of potential disappointment. What if it fell flat? The hours passed slowly, ticking away until Saturday finally dawned. Jake stood gazing out the window over the park, watching morning sunlight pour over the grass, sharing stolen smiles and laughter with a growing crowd of neighbors. Each person in the park embodied every moment of hope he wished for, determined to forge connections. As the clock reached noon, He set out everything he'd prepared. Sandwiches painstakingly crafted, colorful fruit kebabs that sparkled, and a giant cooler filled with soda. Yet, despite the smiles and excitement brewing around him, a nagging voice twined in his thoughts. Will they stay? He whispered to himself. Even as people began gathering, filling the area with chatter and laughter, nerves flickered like birds in his chest. Jake's gaze shifted from one face to another. He spotted Rachel waving with an enthusiastically wide smile. She brought a batch of cookies, the kind that melted like sunshine in your mouth. Hey, ready for this? She asked, her vitality infectious. More than ready. I just hope everyone feels, that sense of community I'm dreaming of. Rachel nodded, her brow arching knowingly. They will, Jake. Just give it time. Her reassurance nodded a bit of calm into his worry. Then, as the crowd began mingling, something remarkable began to unfold. Neighbors started chatting, laughter burst freely, and children dashed around playing games. Jake stepped back for a moment, taking it all in. What he initially thought would be a small gathering unfolded into a vibrant tapestry. As he spotted a few neighbors sharing stories, something in his heart began to change. Could this be the community he longed for? Could these connections spark something deeper? The sun hung high, glowing over their heads, as the breeze flowed through. One conversation caught his attention. A new mother, sharing her struggles with loneliness, found laughter in the company of those she hadn't met before. Jake's heart raced with a blend of fear and anticipation. It was happening. What he wished for was coming to life right before his eyes. But just as he fully embraced that moment, a loud crash echoed behind him. He turned, eyes wide with sudden concern. What happened next would push him beyond anything he could have prepared for. As Jake turned around, he saw Milo, arms outstretched, having just toppled over a cooler. The lid flew open, revealing colorful sodas rolling uncontrollably across the grass. Time slowed, and everyone froze in a mixture of shock and disbelief, before laughter erupted. It was a moment that captured the essence of family and community, imperfect, amusing, and so very alive. Jake felt his heart swell, a laughter of relief escaping his lips. Instead of rushing to scold, he joined the others in a chorus of giggles. Milo, cheeks flushed but beaming with pride, scrambled to retrieve the sodas, his laughter mixing with those around him. In that instant, every worry Jake had melted away. This was what he had envisioned: connection born from shared moments, laughter paving the way for understanding. Here, let me help you, Sarah exclaimed, dashing to Milo's side and helping him gather the runaway sodas. Their teamwork formed another thread in the tapestry of this event, and as Jake watched them, he couldn't help but think of how far they had all come. Conversations blossomed, people sharing stories over sandwiches, discussions of life, challenges, and dreams replacing the silence that once shrouded Jake's neighborhood. The anxiety in Jake's heart began to lift, replaced by a smile that must have stretched from one ear to the other. His children, laughing and playing, were caught up in something much greater than just a picnic. They were renewing connections, building relationships that would last long after the sun set. Suddenly, a voice broke through the laughter. A neighbor, Mrs. Jones, a widow who had lived on the street longer than most, stepped forward with her hands clasped. I never thought I'd see the day when we all come together like this. Thank you, Jake. This means so much. Jake's heart skipped a beat. He glanced around, seeing heads nodding in agreement, eyes bright with appreciation. The power of what they had built together struck him, and he realized this gathering was more than just a picnic. It was the healing space he had hoped for. Thank you, everyone, Jake replied, his voice catching with emotion, for being here and sharing your stories. This is just the beginning. We can build something special together right here. A chorus of affirmations bounced back from the crowd. And then came the moment that ignited everything. Jake spotted Tony, who had just arrived, his face a mix of surprise and pride at the vibrant community. The two locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Jake made his way over to him, excitement bubbling like the sodas had moments before. You made it, he said, a genuine smile lighting his face. Wouldn't he miss it for the world? "This is something special, Jake," Tony replied, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I'm impressed, man." At that moment, Jake realized that he had been scared to reach out before, worried about pity or judgment. But here, surrounded by acceptance and friends, a newfound clarity washed over him. He understood that vulnerability was not weakness. It was strength. By opening himself up, he had created a network of support not just for himself, but also for others yearning for connection. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in stunning hues of orange and purple, Jake gathered everyone's attention. "All right, everyone, let us take a moment to share what this community means to us. Here's to new beginnings." One by one, people began to share, some talking about overcoming struggles, others sharing laughter about past neighborhood events that had been forgotten. Joy washed over the group, softening hearts and smoothing the edges of hidden tensions. As night fell, Jake felt a deep contentment settle within him, something he had chased after for so long. Here was the life he wanted to build for his kids, one filled with love, laughter, and resilience. Surrounded by family and friends, he looked at Milo and Sarah, still caught up in their world of joy, and felt a sense of pride swell. They were witnessing something beautiful. The power of community, the strength of humanity, and the transformation of friendships reborn. It was as if a new chapter was opening, its pages filled with promise and connection. "Tomorrow will be a new day," Jake whispered to himself, resolute in his thoughts. With Tony by his side, and a community willing to share their burdens, he was no longer just providing for his family, he was creating a legacy of resilience. His heart brimmed with determination as he watched the stars twinkle above, each one a reminder of possibilities that lay ahead. And just like that, he embraced the beauty of the moment, the laughter of his children echoing in his heart, ready to take on whatever came next together. Everything felt brighter, more hopeful, as the weight of uncertainty fell away, replaced by the unmistakable feeling of belonging. This was the beginning of something profound, a journey that would carry them all forward, and together, they would shine. Now, I need you to do something important. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it's crucial for us. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending, your thoughts matter. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of standing together. So let us spread this message far and wide.